in the future. In the future, people will chase up love letters like they chase up CVs. Hi there, I'm just calling to see if you got the love letter I sent. Yeah? Great. Well, I look forward to hearing from you when you've had a chance to look over it. Yep, will do. We'll be in touch. Bye now. In the future, all communication will be in writing. Email will of course lead the way as the basic universal medium. When the anthropologists begin their speculations, their first guess why the old favourite ended up displacing the more free-floating platforms will be that basically it looks like a list, and humans get very fond of lists. The longer the better, particularly the large front-brained ones. So, go figure, evolution pressed ahead and email won the day. But now it will be conceived very differently. For a start, they'll drop the E as an eccentricity of 21st century verbiage. Very quaint. Since all communication will be in writing, even the most trivial of thoughts will be put down in a mail. Hi, milk and what? Regards, A. Yes, please. Best, B. Of course, no one will have time to read their mail, and correspondence will always be left with the lingering feeling of waiting at a dead wall. But far from hindering its development, this will prove one of mail's greatest advantages. Precisely for this reason, admissions of error and guilt will account for about 40% of mail traffic, another 40 going to mail requesting the recipient to mail back reminders to do X, Y, or Z, or to send instructions for how to proceed. Annually, this custom will save the skin of several thousand incompetent or negligent managers. Oil spill? Gas leak? Irradiation? Why are you telling me this? I told you to send me a fucking mail! For insurance purposes, mail will be taken as basic sign of life. No mail, no life. Inbox inactive? Call in. User certified dead 1900 hours, 42 minutes, 28, 9, 12. Subject of last incoming message. Jack, are you okay? You haven't replied to your mail for 2 days and the feds are onto me. In the future, life will consist of calling people who answer the phone to tell you that they are on the other line. And when they call you back, you too will be on the other line. People will carry 2 phones at all times, one in each pocket, one against each ear. Underground transport will be avoided at all costs. Only beggars will use the underground. Some talented individuals will have mastered the art of using 2 phones at the same time, or even 3. One against the shoulder and cheek, one in each hand, the other at right angles. This posture will eventually become a permanent feature of human anatomy. Long after mobile phones have disappeared from use, for many years people will be walking around with their arms cocked and their heads to one side. In museums, they will look cockeyed at mobile phones and glass cases. They will push buttons raised to shoulder height for ergonomic convenience and stand there, silent, still and delighted, looking at the screens lighting up blue and green, listening to the unfamiliar melodies and the vibrations rattling the case. In the future, climate change skeptics will have won the argument decisively, despite everyday experience giving all evidence to the contrary. Well, we did come up with the figures for the value of the ecosystem, but the deniers denied the accuracy of our calculations. They said we had failed to account for the great service civilization does in counteracting nature's inbuilt tendency to atrophy. They said if we didn't have cities and dams and railways and smokestacks and incinerators and pipelines and cooling towers and concrete and fibre optic cable, nature would just let itself go. We're like nature's debutante, nature's muse, nature's first true love. Without us, you just have a fat slob, no aspiration, not a single perpendicular in sight, just sludge. You know what would happen if we packed our bags and left this place? Collapse! Total and utter collapse! I swear to God, in a few years, the Empire State would be nothing more than vines making an attractive trellis of the twisted metal. We're the juice. Without us, without our coming and going, giving off heat, pumping out air, the whole thing would just turn to dust. You probably wouldn't even have species anymore, just a grey mass of undifferentiated tissue. And where would that leave you in your stinking hippie calculations? In the future, the poets will compare mountains to cooling towers, fields to airstrips, bogs to dye mats, rivers to high-speed broadband internet. Factories, transport infrastructure, and telecommunications will form the basis of all metaphor. When a plane passes overhead, they will not say, it roared overhead like thunder. But when the thunder sounds on the horizon, they will say, it echoed on the horizon like a passenger jet at 30,000 feet. In the future, archaeologists will sift through the bed of the Thames, long dry, and discover, amongst other things, slender palm-sized plaques of glass, the silhouette something like a rectangle and an oval, the profile moulded like the lip of water on a cup. These mysterious pieces will trouble them for many years to come. The other items they dredge up will be quite easily explained. The small brass discs, some more down to barely recognisable pellets, will be identified as the coinage of the modern period. What are at first thought to be bangles will, after some analysis, be identified as the only surviving part, the thickened ring of metal at the base of a vessel so common to the period that archaeologists suppose it must have had some kind of universal significance, that is, beyond their ostensibly practical purposes, these cans being filled with some kind of foodstuff that was, according to the literature, mass-produced. In fact, the silt of this archaic river will be so rich in deposits of tin, iron, aluminium, and even certain rare earths, and what's more, these deposits will be known to have formed over the centuries completely new, naturally occurring alloys, that mining companies will be lobbying the city authorities to cut the crap with this nonsense human history game and let them get to work for the benefit of the human future. Meanwhile, the slender pieces of glass will remain a mystery. And it will only be the work of cultural theorists several decades later that, quite accidentally and coming from a completely different and fairly oblique, if not to say obscure angle, finally solves the problem. Their hypothesis, later confirmed by the chemical soup, that these plaques of glass were the front face of a well-known brand of mobile telephone / personal planner / digital map / status symbol. When the flimsy metal casing had been dislodged and the electronics gutted, the piece of glass, was all that remained. How they ended up in the river? Well, a nuanced dialectical treatment of this cultural artifact and its social practices will show that said artifact was closely related to heightened stress levels, levels that we would now call pathological. In fact, so high that the sufferer would today probably be permanently committed to a stress asylum for the sake of their own safety and the good of society. And this widespread pathological condition would, back then that is, often culminate in personal crises that involve crushing said artifact under the heel of one's shoe, or, as the case may be, hurling off a bridge. In the future, interns will be grafted onto the bodies of their respective managers. Every good manager will have an intern hanging off him. In the business, this will be known as shadowing. Are you still shadowing these days? You betcha. Shadowing day and night. The bastard's even got me shadowing him in the shower. Put your hands out. He squeezes the soap. Call yourself an intern? Then shadow like one. Fucking scrub it, you worthless appendage. Is it worth it? Hell yes, it's worth it. 2 more years and I get my own sub-intern. God, I look forward to those days, just the three of us dragging our chins along the ground, shadowing day and night. Anyway, the sandwiches are good. At least until he started insisting we share a stomach. Says it's a good experience, so I should count myself lucky. Most interns never get near the arsehole, let alone the stomach. You should be lucky to get a shot at the asshole. Asshole! However, a certain strain of intern will display a near pathological sense of dedication, developing into a form of parasitism. In the industry, these will be known as suckers. Managers can know a sucker when he or she starts asking for extra work to take home on the night shift. Hey, just because you're sleeping doesn't mean I can't be getting on with some papers. You just get some rest, I'll take care of these. The sucker will lay a soothing hand on the manager's shoulder and begin his or her little massage routine, tracing gentle circles with the nails at the base of the neck, up and down the spine, kneading the trapezius. That's it, just let it all go. I've got it from here. Then one day the manager will wake up with his head on the boardroom desk, stark naked from the collar down. Hey, where am I? What are you doing with my clothes on? And that's my case, get your paws out of it. You just be quiet, I'm calling the shots. Now, members of the board, where were we? God save you if you get a sucker. In the future, there will be no more shops. Instead, every city will have one big self-service purchase terminal. At the terminal, you will be able to buy vegetables, petrol, newspapers, clothes, train tickets. Fresh bread will come out of ovens, hot and steaming. You will be able to take out a mortgage and apply for college at the press of a button. There will be options to pay by cash or card at your convenience, or even secure credit on large items. There will be multiple levels with multiple service points. Admittedly, there will be moments of frustration, and it will not be uncommon for someone to hurl a computer monitor or themselves or one of their fellow shoppers over the railings, but municipal services will deal with the mess promptly. In the future, adverts will be projected onto clouds. A quick glance upwards will be enough to get a rundown of the latest products. The London sky will be carved up as thoroughly as the ground beneath it. For a few £1,000,000, you will be able to purchase a slice of prime aerial advertising space on a year-long contract for one-off, scheduled into a rolling 24-hour program. Cars the size of oil tankers will tear across the horizon. Men with taut and well-oiled skin will flex their muscles like Athenian gods, and beautiful women will let fall great arcs of silken hair above you like a circus tent, then turn their heads and look you straight in the eye from 20,000 feet above. In the future, people will look at textbooks showing blurry camera phone pictures of commuters on the underground. They will lean back in their chairs, holding the book away from them at arm's length, elbows locked in disbelief, and say, my God, the 21st century, people were so cruel.